and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I'm exploring my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, one tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon. At the end of bottle number 32, Seagram's Almondine, I said that it wouldn't be long before we had another bottle from Seagram's. And here it is, where you would least expect it, disguised as a bottle of Captain Morgan light rum. Not the spiced rum we instantly associate with the Captain Morgan name today, but a just barely gold rum labeled as light in English and léger in French. If you didn't know Captain Morgan was originally a Seagram's brand, you are in good company because I had no idea either. But there's a big tip-off on the label, which lists Captain Morgan Rum Distillers Limited, Waterloo, Ontario. This is where the original Seagram's distillery was located. While blended whiskeys were Seagram's primary focus during the post-Prohibition period, they didn't limit themselves just to that. Rum grew in popularity in the 1940s as whiskey production in both the US and Scotland were curtailed due to World War II. Seagram's launched the Captain Morgan brand in 1944 using rums from a variety of Jamaican distilleries. They also had facilities in Puerto Rico and in 1953 purchased the Long Pond distillery from the Jamaican government to ensure their rum supply. Seagram's mostly marketed the Captain Morgan brand in the UK and Canada. In Canada, by the 1960s, there were 4 different rums. Black Label, recommended for eggnog and hot buttered rum. Deluxe, unexcelled quality. Gold Label, golden in color with a rich and full-bodied taste. And White Label, an extra light rum for daiquiris and rum and tonics. By the 1970s, advertisements proclaimed Captain Morgan to be Canada's best-selling rum. According to a great article at boozebusiness.com, Seagram's US arm reviewed its brands looking for new product opportunities. They identified rum as a gap in the US where clear spirits were booming, but they didn't see a way to compete against the big dog in the white rum category, Bacardi. So they decided to come up with something new and create a value-added product. They added flavorings, especially vanilla, and dubbed it a spiced rum. After some squabbling about the name, someone suggested using the name of a rum brand the company already owned, Captain Morgan. And the rest is, as they say, history. Test markets in 1982 went well, and the brand was released nationally in 1984. Strong marketing, such as bar nights with Captain and the Morganettes, helped propel the brand as the standard bearer of a whole new spiced rum category. And to pretty much obliterate the prior history of the Captain Morgan brand, Wikipedia doesn't even acknowledge it existing before 1984. As we've previously established, my bottle, not spiced. So when is it from? A commenter, thanks Lisa, suggested that I reach out to Don Mates. He's the artist who created the iconic image of Captain Morgan that graced the labels of the spiced rum on its release. He told me he started working with them in 1982 and confirmed that the tiny Captain picture on my bottle is not his. Which makes sense. The US Captain Morgan brand, they wouldn't release a non-spiced version until the 1990s. However, in Canada, things were different. Captain Morgan was still selling non-spiced rum there all through the 80s, and they weren't using Mates' art to do it. Looking at Canadian ad campaigns between the 70s and 80s, the coloring of the Captain is very similar, but it looks like he went on a diet and slimmed up a bit in the 80s. My tiny bottle of Captain seems more like the stately 1970s version. The label is bilingual, which would mean it's 1974 or after, because that's when Canada required bilingual labels. It also has a blended and bottled in bond under government supervision notice on it, but I have not been able to attach that to a specific time period. If you know anything about Canadian bottled and bond rules and their history, I would love to talk to you. But here's the most interesting thing about this bottle, at least to me. I have not, after way too many hours of looking, ever found another bottle that is labeled like mine. There are extra light white rums. There are gold label rums. But what I have is a bottle with a gold label that's not called gold label, with a very pale rum in the bottle and with just light, not extra light. So I don't know. I'm guessing between 1974 to 1980 as a range, but I would love to hear from anyone who can help me track this one down. If that's you, drop a comment below or hit me up on @mytinybottles on social media. Visit mytinybottles.com for more about this bottle and all the bottles, and to see what bottles are coming up next. Cheers!